So this is going to be the story of my Ackie. A lot of these clips are old, so this is going to be in 1080p. So this was the starter enclosure I built for him. I got a lot of ideas for this enclosure from watching Brad's Bioactive Builds. Shout out to his channel. So this guy was tiny when I got him. And he's a yellow Ackie in case anyone was wondering. Got him off of Morph Market. I gave him a thorough bath straight away in electrolyte water. And then he immediately went into his enclosure. So this is footage of him on that first day. He was already a very brave little boy. This was January 11th of 2023. Kale was living in here being treated for parasites just before I built this enclosure for the Ackie. Kale's now in with Ajax, and if you recognize the date from the training series, I'm going to start interacting with them in a little over a month. So this guy was already really brave when I got him, and here I am trying to actually tongue feed him on his first day. Since he moved up to the top platform, I decided to just throw the cricket up there. You can see how small he is here too. That cricket is not a big cricket. So I basically left this guy alone besides tongue feeding, and then I had that huge breakthrough with my tree monitors. This clip here is from a few days after I first started interacting with the tree monitors, and that would end up ultimately consuming most of my time. So this little guy kind of got sidelined, I would say, for about 6 months. I didn't really do anything with him besides tongue feeding him. I mean, I talked to him and I hung out with him at his enclosure, but I never really made an attempt to interact with him in any way. This was partly due to the fact that his enclosure is off the ground and I didn't want to invade his space with interaction. But it's also just due to the fact that I was spending so much time with the tree monitors. I mean, if you've watched the training series, you know what I was going through in those first couple weeks and just how much I was putting into them. So it was probably a good 6 to 7 months before I finally decided to sit down and give it an actual go with this guy. And that's when I decided to build the platform just outside his enclosure so that I could coax him out onto the platform, do interactions and feedings there, and then try to get him secure in this new environment just outside the enclosure. Just like with my trees, I didn't want to interact with him inside the enclosure, which is his safe space, until he was comfortable with the interactions already. So this is one of the first videos I have after I put the platform here, and I'm just using it for feeding. Just like my trees, I wanted to grant this guy some kind of freedom in tandem with the interactions we were going to be doing.
Come on.
I'm talking to him in the same way that I talk to my tree monitors, and you can hear my dog moving around just behind me. This little guy is desensitized to the dogs, just like the tree monitors. It took several sessions for him to get comfortable coming outside, even for food. He's actually getting egg here, which is one of his favorites, and still he makes me bring it up to him on tongs. All of this was my fault, of course, for leaving him in here so long without any interaction. I mean, he's comfortable with his life as it is at this point.
Come on. You're okay. Come on. All of my guys associate the red tongs with food. Let him know what this is. You're okay. It's for you.
So you can see here, I'm not trying to interact with him. I'm just letting him get comfortable coming out to get food. And I know that people that have very social Ackies are going to be laughing at this, but I was literally spending all my time working with my tree monitors. If you're familiar with my series, you know just how far I took those guys. I honestly didn't have time to work with a third monitor at the same time.
It's for you.
So I'm just trying to get him comfortable staying outside to eat his food. You can see he usually eats a little and then goes away, and I just try to get him to come back out. I'm not trying to interact with him or give him any more stress than this is already causing him being out of his enclosure. You have to understand, he hasn't been outside of this enclosure since the day he got that first bath and got put in here.
Boy, you hungry boy.
So this is a couple days later, and I think this is the day he bites me for the first time. And I'm sorry for the camera angle. This was all I could come up with at that time. And I want to be clear, I never use food to have monitors walk up my arm. What I am doing here is I'm trying to get him to come down and eat the food from the tongs, but my arm is present because after he eats, I'm hoping he's going to stick around and then interact with my arm. But you will not see me use food to get these animals onto my arm. I think it's counterproductive to what I do, and I just never do it. So you can see here, I was able to get him to come out using the food, and then I just give him the food. It's at least 4, 5, 6 inches away from my arm. Again, I'm sorry for the angle. So he's just there eating the food about 9 inches from my face, and I'm just staring at him in case he looks at me. And you can see here, he does. He's looking directly at me, and we're just staring at each other. I did this same thing with Ajax on our first day interacting. Here I'm starting cues. And coming up is the bite. What's happening now is he's moving around, and he started like poking my hand with his snout, and then he started really like shoving it with his snout. So I knew a bite was coming, and I had already resolved myself that if he bites me, I'm going to try to take it. So I'm just going to let this play and then talk about it afterwards. So there's the bite.
Stop biting me. Stop it. Stop! Don't bite me.
And you can see what happened was he just kept thrashing, and I took the tongs and slapped the blanket right next to him, and he let go, and he didn't even run away. Look, he's still there. And now he's looking at me again. And so I decided I was going to give him another piece of food so that he wouldn't bite me again. And he's continuously nudging my hand, so I'm going to yell at him a little bit more.
Don't bite me.
You can see there where he's poking at me with his snout. So here's a bit later, and he's still out there with me. I think I'm going to start using head cocking and the eye games I used with Ajax with him. Don't worry, after this clip, the angles get a lot better. But I'm just hanging out with him, trying to see if I can get some kind of interaction from his end. Not mine, his. And this is only like a week into trying to interact with him. After I got the platform set up, I had to get him comfortable with coming out and knowing that he gets fed there now. So I think this is like 3 weeks after the platform got set up, but like within the first week of interacting with him. Probably the first couple days, I would assume. With the trees coming out so often, I don't usually get a lot of time to do this with him, even during this period. Again, I don't touch them. I want all of the interactions to come from them. Here he's free to go in and out of the enclosure. This illusion of freedom is a big part of what I do with my monitors. These things understand the idea of the enclosure. They understand that you're in control of that. If you can convince them that they are in charge of coming out whenever they want, it will have a huge effect on how they perceive you. And again, it's hard to see here, but he's literally like coming down to like 4 or 5 inches from my face. And just him being outside of his enclosure where I'm present in the area and I'm not scooping him up to put him back into the enclosure. Again, try to think of every interaction from their point of view. What is the animal learning? That I am not there to get him. So here's a bit later. I'm still out here working with him.
You okay? Don't you bite me. Don't bite me. Stop pushing me.
He's really brave that he doesn't run away when I twitch my hand or yell at him.
What are you pushing me for? What are you looking for?
So here he is about to climb on my hand for the first time. Again, you do not need to use food to get these guys to climb on you. They are curious. And you can see me there smiling my ass off because it finally happened.
What are you doing?
I know it's a shit angle, but here you can see that I'm not leading him onto my hand. You can see that he is still on the towel, a few inches to the side of my hand. The reason I don't do that is because I'm all about behavioral conditioning, and when I see those videos, I see a monitor being conditioned to try to get the food without touching the hand. They approach the hand, they look down at it, they try to reach over the hand, they try to go around the side to get the food that way. They're problem solving. And I don't want them spending 1 second problem solving how not to touch me. Bit of a half dart here. If you remember from the series, this applies to all monitors. Did you see how he stopped, turned around, saw it was nothing, immediately came right back? I see this all the time in other people's videos. When they half dart like that, just freeze. They will always stop. They will always look back. They will realize it's a misunderstanding, and it will turn a negative interaction into a good interaction because the animal is learning not to trust his fear response around you.
Come on.
I know this clip is really boring because of the angle and how long it is, but this was the first big interaction I had since setting up the podium outside his enclosure. So I wanted to show as much of it as possible. I did cut a lot of this out, but I just wanted to include it here because it's important to show you his progression.
Don't you bite me. You be nice. Get the shit out of me.
So this was the extent of the bite. It really wasn't that bad considering he held on and was thrashing around. So we have a better angle here, and I want to show you why you don't need to lead them onto your hand.
Okay.
Watch how much he interacts with it just in anticipation of being fed, just because it's there. Only you don't have any of those awkward moments where he's pulling away because he sees you're trying to get him on your hand. He just climbs on it because it's there. Again, think of it from their point of view. Which interaction is better? The one where he chooses to climb across my fingers, or the one where I force him to come onto me to get food when it's obvious he's trying to get the food without touching me? It's also quite easy to stack the deck in your favor. Look at the size of the platform. That's intentional. Just like the ladder with the tree monitors. You're smarter than them, and you're the one that gets to design the interaction space. Just design it so that it encourages them to interact with you. So now you're going to see a bunch of random clips showing progression over several different interactions across maybe a month. And then we're going to end on a clip where he comes down to my shoulder for the second time, but it's the first time I captured it on video. I'm going to drop some vibes during the progression. So these are many sessions over the course of about a month once I got him secure outside the enclosure. And this is going to be the shoulder clip.
Good boy. Where you going? Where you going? Where you going? I wonder... I'm gonna try to offer my hand. I don't know what would happen here. I might get bit. No? Because he's only come out like this like a half a dozen times or so already. And he does like what you're seeing here where he scratches around, he looks around. He's looking for food. Like I get that this is about food. But it's really... his behavior's interesting to me. Just the fact that he can just turn his back on me like that. Oh, Ajax is making a lot of noise over here. You're okay. Oh, Ajax is gonna scare him with this noise.
Again, I'm keeping this as intact as possible. I know it's not for everyone. You don't have to watch all my videos.
I don't know if you can hear Ajax on this, but he's over here making all kinds of noise. Every time this little guy comes out like this, like I'm glad that it's happening, right? But I'm also just nervous because I don't want anything to ruin it. So I'm hoping the whole time that he'll just go back inside by himself and it'll just be a good session over. He might bite me here because he's always trying to get food out of me. And I think he tries to tell me to give him food, but he'll like literally like start nudging my fingers and then he'll like bite me. He's getting up on the phone. He's climbing on the phone. I think he's about to get on my arm. Oh my god, he's getting on my arm. This is crazy. He's never done this before. Oh my god, he's walking down my arm. Now he's on my shoulder. I'm gonna try to turn this around. I hope he doesn't bite my head. I'm gonna try to give him a better way to walk back. You're okay. I don't even know if you can see him.
This was his second time on my shoulder, but this is the first time I got it on camera. I just want to reiterate that I never touch these guys. If you let them, they will do all the heavy lifting. These things are curious like you wouldn't believe.
I'm trying to be so careful with even just turning this phone. I want him to go back in. Oh my god, thank god. Thank you, boy. That was great. Oh my god.
So I'm sorry this was so long. I did not intend it to be. I know a lot of people aren't going to watch this, but I don't care about the views. I care about putting out as much detail as possible. I know a few people have Ackies, and they've asked me about my Ackie. Today I had a really crazy day with him, so I just wanted to get all the previous stuff out of the way and get you caught up to where he is so that I can make a video about this day I had with him today. This was basically about 2 months of progress crammed into a single video. The next one will be shorter and a lot better.